Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 111 of the Podcana podcast. This week, we're going to be diving into sets 5 to 8, exploring a little bit of the post rotation deck lists. Last week, we took a look at a few of the community built deck lists, and this week, Moyen has taken the time to build one or two different decks, but we just really want this episode to be a discussion of different ideas that we have as we lead into, rotation. We have a lot of spilled ink and great questions and comments from you guys this week as well, so we're going to be diving into that. But before we jump into anything, Moyen, how have you been? What have you been up to this week? I know you're also, like, the biggest thing is you're probably preparing for this tournament this weekend, right, in Madrid?
Yeah, I've been playing a bit more seriously again. Recently I've tried a lot of the meme ideas, seeing how far I can push them. But now with the tournament in Madrid coming up this weekend, I also spent some time like refining some of the um, or, or I guess I probably won't say what I'll play yet, just to not give up that edge yet, even if it's not the biggest tournament. But I've just been like refining a more known deck, and I'm looking forward to just getting to meet the community again, getting to compete in Lorcana again.
Awesome. Yeah.
How have you been?
I've been good. I've been busy in work, doing lots of stuff. But I've been having a good time. Mainly just talking to different people about basically the topics we're discussing today, right? Like, I personally am just like super, super, super excited for rotation and the new meta and to be able to build like brand new decks again. So that's basically what I've been spending my Lorcana time doing. Haven't really been testing too much for um, set champs or anything like that. But again, if you guys are doing well in your set champs, let us know what decks you're playing down below. The interesting thing that I like about this time is, of course, there'll be people like me who are excited for post rotation ideas and like new deck lists and stuff. But I actually really like to see. There's so many people I feel like that are still constantly innovating their current deck lists, whether that just be something like Amber Steel aggro or Red Purple or Blurple or anything like that. And it's actually really cool because you do. I guess I also need to remember that there is still going to be this eternal format, this infinity format. So every little bit of iteration and like improvements you make to your deck, especially in that format, are actually relevant. So any way that people can continuously find like these little edges or improve their decks is it's pretty interesting for that format. But at the same time, when that format starts, right, there's also going to be Hiram and Fortisphere back in the game, so that will change a lot of things. I haven't really picked your brain too much on Infinity format. I'd love to hear, like, I don't know, how much, like, do you think you'll play it, explore it? Obviously,
Mhm.
the third big challenge is going to be Infinity format, which I think will be fun. It will change things up, allow us to play like a the cool thing is I feel like there should be a lot of different deck lists, but at the same time, any meta, no matter how many cards are available, will still be dominated by pretty powerful decks. So maybe there won't be that much selection, but um, yeah, like, what are your thoughts on it? Did you ever dabble around with Wild that much in Hearthstone, or like did you never really find it to be
No,
like that
I mean,
competitive?
Wild was such a meme format, and it was like barely ever supported with tournaments.
Mm.
And I was not interested in playing Wild because Wild was also um, like the stuff you could do in Wild was completely broken,
Mm-hmm.
and it being broken didn't, at least to me, didn't make it more fun. Um, so I'm also wary of the fact that Infinity could turn out the same way, but
Mm-hmm.
like I guess we're at the very start of Infinity, so it will just, I guess for the next few sets it will kind of be like a small extension of our current format.
Mm-hmm.
So it shouldn't be all that different.
Yep.
And while I'm personally ready to move on and experience different game dynamics and different cards, um, especially with it being supported and there being a DLC for it, I think I will, at least for the DLC, I will try it a lot, and I'll probably um, enjoy just a switch up again, even if like right now I probably don't want to play it. It's like if in the future I've spent all of the time playing the post rotation format, probably it will be still a good time to just go back to Infinity and see what maybe you can cook up with the old and the new cards.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. And I'm glad that they are at least somewhat supporting it for like side events and the bigger DLC. I kind of agree with you that it's nice to explore this new format and then maybe take a little bit of a break, go back to messing around with some of the older cards, right? I think that'll be pretty fun. So, um, yeah.
Yeah. I place a side bet uh on Kawa playing Amber Emerald discard when the Infinity DLC comes around.
I mean, they did say that that Infinity format's gonna have its own like separate ban list, right? So I
Yeah.
honestly still couldn't be surprised that. I mean, that's the interesting thing. It's like I don't know how much they're really gonna support it and how much they're really gonna care about that ban list. But if they want to really care about it, I could see Prince John going on it, and I wouldn't be upset. Like I think it probably deserves to be on it,
You
right?
know,
So
I just to annoy you, I want to see Prince John still being there, but Kida and Under the Sea being gone.
that's so rude. Oh my god, man. Keto Under the Sea is like the best part of playing the deck, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah. So yeah, that's basically what we're going to be doing. This episode is exploring that. A quick little tangent as well. Myself and Moyen have been playing another TCG. I know everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my god, they've trying new games." Yeah, we've been messing around a little bit with Riftbound. Like, everyone's been talking about it, but I've actually had like demo decks for the game since like last December when it was first announced, and I played it a little bit on Tabletop Sim at the end of last year. And now all of the cards are out, so like it's a fun time to test. The game's been pretty interesting, pretty fun. The one thing I will say, and people have to, people are always gonna meme online and say, like I do understand, if X game does organized play and this and that better than this other game, oh then maybe I'll move over and go to this game, whatever. Like, uh, for me at least, Riftbound will be something I'll try to play when I have the time. But like Lorcana is still and will be like my main priority because I love the game so much. I love the community. I love playing it. I think the rotation is really gonna introduce something new and special to the game for me at least. And yeah, I think when people say this, like, "Oh, I'm gonna leave and go play this other game," it's like, in my opinion, I feel like that's a lot of the hyper competitive players where I feel like they will switch between games anyways. That's a natural thing they want to do to experience different things, see what the pricing's like in different games. But like, I don't know. I also don't think you should um you know why is it a bad thing that people are trying out other games either, right? Like I don't
That's
I don't understand that concept. Do you mind? It's like you have to play this one game and that's all you can play, right?
yeah, well, I guess for you, I assume you've like found your home and you're like happy to stay. Um,
Well, it's like it's
and
it's not. I mean, yeah. I mean, I would say that to an extent. Like Lorcana,
Mhm.
the community is like a massive part of it for me as well. But it's not that it's my home when I say it's like it's one of my main games because I enjoy so many elements of it. But if any new card game pops up, and also I have said this, like regardless of IP, I'm just a card game nerd.
Mhm.
So if I have the opportunity to play a new card game, much like yourself, as I know,
Yeah,
we'll play it and we'll test it out because we just like to play TCGs. But
yeah.
uh,
And
yeah,
if we test a new TCG and it sucks, okay, we might only like try it for like a week or
yeah.
something. But it, to me also, I love exploring new games. I would say most of the time I play more than one TCG, even though right now it was like mostly Lorcana.
Hmm.
But then it was super fun to like spend that 1 week deep diving into Star Wars for their major event.
Yep.
One I still really really love One Piece, and I Riftbound has been fun so far, and um, in general, uh, other games doing well also bring some, like they might force other games like Lorcana to like see, okay, this is what they are doing well,
Hmm.
this is what they are doing wrong.
Hmm.
It's like all of these games can kind of learn from each other
Hmm.
and improve.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I'm still playing the Bazaar a lot as well. I remember when Brendan was still on the pod, we were all Bazaar gamers for like we turned a whole episode into talking about that game. Um, but yeah, at the end of the day, Lorcana is still my number one priority. But it's nice to play other stuff when I have the time, when I have the chance, and also it's kind of part of my job now as well, which is kind of
Yeah,
cool for me to
true.
say. It is actually important for me to play and learn about as many TCGs as possible.
Yeah,
Um,
just yesterday I taught Kava a bit more about One Piece because he has to know everything now.
yeah, I do have to know everything indeed. Um, Yeah, okay, let's move straight into the Spilled Ink section. This is our listener question section. If you guys want to have your questions read out on next week's episode of the podcast, be sure to pop a comment down below. The first one is from Christian Young. They say, I feel bad Kawa's first American DLC experience is going to be in Milwaukee of all places, lol. Yeah, I mean, I've never been to Milwaukee, but from I think from when we spoke to Ed, and I've heard this from another few people as well, they're like, yeah, there's nothing really in Milwaukee. It's like, nothing really to do. And for me, it's like, yeah, it's always nice if I can do something extra and see some sights and explore a city. But I think in this regard as well, just because of, I have to get back from work and I don't have that much time. I know myself and Kim are literally like, we're flying in pretty much Friday evening and like flying home on Monday. Like we don't even have the time to see anything there, which maybe that works out if there is nothing else to see in Milwaukee anyways, right? Here's a
Yeah,
question, Moyen. Have you been to any other parts of America? Oh, you have, right? Any other parts of America for tournaments? Because I know Seattle was your first one, but you were at LA for BlizzCon with Hearthstone, right?
yeah, for like their fall championship, I was at
Mm.
LA, and then for like one of the major tournaments, I was. No, wait, I was in LA, and then I was in Vegas,
Oh,
and now Seattle was like the third time.
cool.
I just researched. Okay, what's Milwaukee famous for? Has a rich brewing history, lively neighborhoods, but it's also the custard capital of the world. It has the most frozen custard shops in the world.
Oh, but isn't like yeah, frozen custard's a thing that we don't really have over here though. It's like they have any Americans watching the podcast or listening, please tell me the okay, there's three things. Tell me the difference between ice cream, frozen yogurt, and frozen custard. Because I'm pretty sure they're all three different
Wait,
things.
frozen custard is different?
I think so.
Huh?
Yeah. I know frozen yogurt's a thing over there, which to me is just probably ice cream. But I guess our American audience can educate us on what the real difference is
Sure.
between those three. But regardless, I'm just excited to go and meet the American community at the DLC. See some more of my friends that I only really talk to online. Meet more of the Ravensburger global team, which is really nice. We have such great connections with the folks over here in the EU, and uh, I speak to a lot of people within the global team. But it would be nice to speak in person. And when we met a few of them, notably Naomi and Shane at the EU Championships. Moyen, I remember you walked over to me and I was like chatting the ear off these people. I was like, I'm just interested in their work, right? Like what they do is so cool, right? And Moyen's like, oh yeah, here's Kawa off again, speaking to the staff. Just
I have just another day in the office for
yeah,
Kawa.
another day in the office. But no, I just always like telling the people how much we like appreciate their work and everything that they do because they work really hard in this game and it's just nice to speak to them in person about it. Um, all right, Moyen, do you want to read out the next comment if that's okay?
Sure. Yeah, the next one is a card idea because you like mentioned this deck proxy fest that you
Mm-hmm.
could do, which is a one-cost inkable emerald song. It's called Moyen Knows Best. If you say out loud that it's possible to win a game of 61 card deck, draw one card, gain one draw. Um, yeah, the, I don't know. Somehow every card that's like has my name on it is related to the 60 cards. I didn't even know. I guess I do talk about it a lot, but like I shouldn't even need to talk about it that much. It just shouldn't be controversial.
Sure.
Um, late, so we also like someone did some Instagram posts with cards, like with a card for me and a card for cover, but we'll talk about that in a later segment.
Sure.
Next comment is by Blooper Quest, and they say Moyen always asks about talks about testing. So I'm wondering how does he test exactly? More so, how does he decide? Yeah, this card is better than that one.
Good question.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it somewhat short. Because testing, like, there's a lot that can fall under the category of testing. I think someone had also replied to this, and I think they said it very well. Where it's like every time I talk about testing, it could just be something like, oh, when I was just like playing some games, but I was like playing them deliberately to find out how something performs in certain situations or how something feels. Um, and unless it goes into like the testing phase right before very major tournaments where you want to find out something as quickly and as efficiently as possible, where the methodology, like the methods you use, will differ, and you might just like set up some starting hands, which is something we've talked about, or set up some opposing hands, so like you don't get lost in games that are like very unlikely to happen. But if you just like if you play a completely random game, the variance will kind of skew it in a way where it might not be super helpful because it's not like a game that will happen again, or or a game that will happen very often. The other part of the question is, how do you decide, oh, this card is better than that one? Um, of course, it's simplified. It's not like this card's just better than that one. It's like, oh, for what purpose, for what meta spread, in what matchups. But like even if you have like one matchup and in that matchup you want to decide, is this card better than that one? It kind of boils down to, well, you going through all of the situations where you could have this or that card, and then seeing how, in what position they would kind of put you in. A very simplified way would be like, oh, 40% of the time this card is this much better, but like 60% of the time it's like this much worse, and then you kind of get a feel for what cards you might be performing better in a certain matchup, but then throughout the entire matchup spread, then you have to decide, okay, is it actually worth including this if it makes this matchup this much better and these matchups this much worse? So it takes quite some time, which is why you have to be deliberate with how you do it, because if you don't do it, then you can spend like infinite time and not really get very far.
Sure, yeah. I think I'm gonna kind of go back over the question very briefly, just
Mm-hmm.
for the testing part. Like, do you want to mention like some of the? I know we talk about this all the time, but like some of the tools you do. Like, I'm sure sometimes you test on TTS with some people. Sometimes you prefer to test
Sure.
webcam games. You may use an unnamed platform that we won't discuss.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a mix of all of that.
yeah,
All of these platforms, webcam, or even meet in person. Now that I have a great player in my city.
yeah.
Um,
That's not me, right? That's somebody else. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I think, and then how do you decide that the card is better than one? Like, I think some good examples to use for it is like it's so dependent on so many things, but I don't know, like the red blue mirror match. If you're both playing the shark burn version, right? It's like, okay, in this specific matchup, playing a card, for example, like I don't know, like Hades is maybe better because you're able to remove an opponent's Maui Half Shark, and you feel like in that particular matchup it's okay. And Hades can be okay in other matchups as well. It's just determining, okay, it might be very good in this matchup, but it might be very bad in these matchups. Like that's kind of an example.
mhm.
And what's funny is like, again, I'm going to use the example of like we've been testing like Riftbound recently, right? And even without like a massive amount of extended testing, like kind of taking a deck that you've tinkered around with a little bit, like uh, depending on matchups, we've noticed like I've noticed that like certain cards, maybe in control matchups are a lot worse, or in mid-range matchups they're a lot better, and it's just like evaluating those types of things. So doing the testing and determining if cards are good, or if they're bad, or if they're better than other ones, can be difficult. But I do think a good way to start is to try and like, I don't know, if you've constructed the deck yourself, or if you've taken a deck from somebody else who's performed well with it, and like you want to get a core of like, okay, these cards like are integral to the deck, they're core to the deck, and maybe there's 5 of these card slots that I feel like aren't that good from when I did testing, and maybe I could swap them out with something better. I think that's a good way to do testing, because maybe you can feel overwhelmed if you're trying to start from the basics, right? Like I think that's actually a good way, that if you want to do a little bit of deck tweaking, and then over time, the more you get acquainted to testing cards, and trying to see, okay, I feel like this is better, I feel like that's better. Maybe you might then be able to like create a whole new deck yourself. Like that's a very hard thing to do. I think I don't want to say this is something that people have and something that other people don't. Like deck building stuff is definitely something you can learn, but it is tricky, and it takes time. Like uh, that's why I'm like I'm impressed when people innovate and build new decks, because it's difficult, and it takes a lot of work to do. Sure. Okay. Next comment is from Lerak. They say, "How are you going to North America and Europe? Sounds like someone got hooked up with tickets." So first of all, I didn't get hooked up with tickets. As I mentioned last week on the podcast, I had to battle with everybody else to get tickets for these DLCs. And the second thing, in my opinion, is why is it necessarily a bad thing that anyone is going to both North America and Europe for DLCs? Whether Americans going over to Europe or Europeans going over to America. I think if people have a problem with it, I can kind of understand, but the solution to the problem, in my opinion, obviously easier said than done. Just have more events. If there was like 6 DLCs within Europe and I don't know, even 8 in America, even if that's the case and I want to fly over to America, I think people should still have the choice and they should be restricted. But if there's more events within one region, I'm more likely to just play them in my region because it costs me a lot of money to fly over to America, and it's money I would rather not spend. If okay, would I rather fly to like France or would I rather fly to Milwaukee? I'd rather fly to France. Let's be honest. But I don't think it's the worst thing to have some Americans over in Europe and have some Europeans over in America, right? Like, but I do agree with the people that are annoyed about it. Like, I think the problem it helps a little bit if there are just more events within each region. Would you agree?
Yeah, every time I hear that one of the Americans is making it over to the European event, I'm like looking forward to
Yeah.
meeting them there. And it's like I think always a cool thing to like have these communities connect.
Mhm.
Um, I understand the sentiment, of course, if like someone didn't get a ticket and you see someone got two, you're like, well, that's not great.
Mm.
But it's not really the problem of the person that wanted to go to 2 events. It's just like we need more events for the demand that we have.
Sure. And also, I also agree that that can seem unfair, but if somebody got 2 tickets for an event, I don't want to say someone has tried harder than somebody else, but for example, like I had a lot of devices and people I don't know, the argument to be like, "Oh, we should all play fair and just have one device to try and get the ticket." If you want to go to an event, if you have access to other devices, like why wouldn't anybody
Sure,
utilize that,
but
right?
like I guess to what extent? Because like some people have bots that buy them their tickets, and it's like I don't want to go to that extent to just like play in a tournament. I want to have to do it,
Sure,
but
I
then
guess there's a line, right? I guess there is a
right,
line.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
yeah, you have to draw the line somewhere, and it's I don't know where to draw it, but
Mhm. Yeah. Another thing I know I'll speak about it because I'm not that I can't speak about it because Brendan's no longer on the podcast before, but I know Brendan's toyed around with the idea of like, some of our viewers might really disagree with this, but he's actually toyed around with the idea of like, oh, why shouldn't Ravensburger help certain content creators? And
mhm.
this might not even necessarily like get tickets to cover the event, which honestly like having prominent creators cover your event is important. Now, by no means am I saying we are privileged and we should get tickets. It could even be a thing of like, okay, like we'll get you to an event, but like you can't play and you can cover the event, showcase some stuff, that type of thing. Like, I don't know what exact way that should work, but I think if there's any extra way that they can work with content creators, I think they should. That might mean helping them secure a certain, like when I went to the EU Championship, Moyen, I got like was it like a media badge or whatever? Like I played in the LCQ. They didn't help me get tickets for the main event, but
Yeah,
because we've worked with Ravensburger before, they allowed me to go down to like the the basement, which where the games were
yeah,
on, right? To actually watch
VIP
the main
basement.
event and to talk to the players and kind of showcase that a little bit, right?
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think there's different ways they can do it, but I also understand from the outside, like people exactly what you said, right? It's like somebody who didn't get any tickets, it just sucks altogether. Do you want to read out the next comment?
Sure. Next comment is thoughts on Emerald Comic Con. With us talking about Green Blue last week.
Mm-hmm.
I think makes sense to talk about this card. I think to me this was always one of the like cards that was the hardest to wrap my head around
Mm-hmm.
and on how to evaluate it because there's these spots where it's great, um, where you have this board and no matter what your opponent does, even if they do remove some of your stuff, like you bounce any of their stuff and it can generate so much tempo and kind of like lock them out of the game. And I think in these spots it's so good that you should always like have this card in your mind
Mm-hmm.
when deck building, but still at the end of the day, to me there was still this deal breaker of what if I'm behind
Mm-hmm.
and like my opponent doesn't need to react to my characters, but they have more characters than me. And now I play this Chromicon, and like they
Mhm.
still don't need to react to my
Mhm.
characters. I'm
Mhm.
reacting to theirs. And then the card doesn't do anything. And if it was inkable, maybe you could like the card could get away with it. But I think with it being uninkable, you still have to be like very, very careful when you want to have this in your deck.
Mhm. I think I confused this card with the Emerald Coil, right? I think I was talking to you earlier about like, yeah, that card makes
Yes.
your cards evasive, right? I was like, no,
Yeah,
that's a different
that's why I
card.
added the picture
Yeah,
there.
that helped a lot. That helped a lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Um, Next comment is from Jackson. They say the green blue list looks awesome. I highly recommend trying out the items version of blue green as well if you haven't tried it yet. I would love to see y'all's take on the deck. Yeah, I mean honestly, I haven't toyed around with the item version too much. I don't believe you have either, but I was really impressed by the the amount of players that brought it to Worlds and like some of the stuff that we got to see with it. Like it seemed to perform very well. Some of the Oswalds hitting and not hitting was quite enjoyable to watch. But I think I enjoyed watching it in Worlds the most because, uh, with the idea of, okay, I know I can ban steal and I know that my Oswald isn't going to be touched when I play it and I can
Mhm.
really get value out of it. In my opinion, made the deck a lot stronger. If you take it into an open field and you happen to come across that steal removal, you play your Oswald and it instantly gets removed. It kind of sucks. But yeah, like I guess what are your overall thoughts on that, especially after watching it perform at Worlds, right?
Yeah, no, I do agree that it kind of needs like the specific meta for it to shine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like one of the best things about the world format was that it allowed some of these decks to shine and some of the creative deck building that went into building these. And I was quite impressed with what they were able to put up. Like in some of the slower games against like Blurple or Ruby Amethyst, the way that they like were just about fast enough to get control of the game. And then okay, they couldn't stop like the form hand lore game, but like they were playing 1 to 2 reticence traps a
Mm-hmm.
turn. That was quite amazing. The other one was I always when I was cast or like restreaming it with Spicy, I also always forgot the name of the card. But there was like an item was like I I didn't even know that card existed. Like there was like a cheap item that bounced a card. Um,
Oh, the galactic compass or something, or
yes,
galactic
right.
communicator, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the Galactic Communicator, and that
yeah.
that that card actually in that deck it performs quite well because it's like an item that you can hit off Oswald that actually generates or like that you can use to generate quite a bit of tempo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean I can't talk too much about the deck, but I loved seeing it at Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the Worlds format for allowing a deck like this to shine.
I agree. Moyen, do you want to read out the next comment because I know this was directed at you from our Discord server.
Right. So uh, this one. Okay. So a student of mine had asked me this, and so I thought we could mention it on the pod, which is basically they explained to me how Pokemon VGC, so the Pokemon Video Game Championship, does their rotation, and the way he explained it to me is like they do when they do like reprints or I guess Pokemon coming back, um, instead of having like a lot of them come back at the same time, they're more like spaced out, and maybe each set has a few reprints,
Mm-hmm.
instead of the way that we are now approaching things, where I think set 9 is supposed to be this big reprint set, but then there's probably not too many reprints after that. Or is there like no reprints? Do we know anything about the sets after?
Um, I don't know honestly. I'm assuming if there is any type of cadence, and if you guys know in the comments, let us know. I can't imagine they've revealed too much about the future plans. Maybe they have spoken publicly about like their reprint policy moving forward, but I would imagine that um maybe they would do more reprints like in 4 sets time if that makes sense. Like
Hmm.
if the next
Yeah.
rotation comes type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I found this question very very interesting because I like I thought about it a little bit, and then I'm not sure like how much hype there is for set 9, but because if it's known to be the reprint set, there's less new cards to get excited about.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that's like slightly combated by, oh, it's also the set where we have rotation for the first time. So maybe like there will still be an insane amount of excitement, even if there isn't like too many new cards, just because so many cards are leaving the format as well. Um,
But I think I
I don't
think
know.
I think that's like gonna help. I do agree with you that the excitement
Mhm.
for rotation is still there, and I fully agree. But I also personally, at least for the product side on the actual set, it's like we know rotation hits, and the set coming out is important because we do need these reprinted cards. But like I have most of these cards probably, right? We people who've been playing the game probably have most of the cards, and that's just something that I don't know, like maybe us as players we should enjoy that this is a cool new time to build new decks. It's basically, the closest thing we have to a brand new game, brand new format, and we have to look at the positives of like this is a great thing for newer players. This is probably the best time that new players can come into Lorcana, get a lot of new cards, learn the game, whole new meta type of thing. So there's definitely like there's positives to it as well, but mm, personally, I would still prefer, I think, if it was like reprint set and then a main set. I don't know if they could release both of those products at the same time. Maybe there'd have to be like a little bit of cadence, but
Mhm.
to me, if if there are so many reprints and there's less like new cards, right? It kind of feels like a mini set, which is fine, but then
Yeah,
that's something
yeah,
we
I
have
get
to
that.
expect the cadence of, right? Like we have to kind of
Yeah.
be like, okay, every 3 sets is like a main set, and then there's like a mini set which includes rotation things. But I guess it's like if that's kind of clearly communicated, that's what they want to be doing. It's fine.
Hmm.
But I guess if that precedent is set, it makes sense. But like you said, I
Yeah.
don't know what the future like if that's going to change. If they will separate a reprint set and a main set, who knows, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it is an interesting conversation to have though for sure. Um, the next comment is from Gangly from our Discord server. They say, I just got into Lorcana, my first TCG, and went to my first locals last night. I played a super cheap purple steel deck with a bunch of cheap cards plus dock. Seemed like the best way to get into the game without spending too much. I had an absolute blast and would love to continue playing casually at locals. That said, with rotation coming, I'm concerned that the entry point for Lorcana is going to skyrocket, particularly if the bounce package doesn't get reprinted. What are some recommendations for cheap decks that people should consider post rotation? Great question. First of all, I'm glad you're enjoying Lorcana and that you got into it in a very accessible and cheap way. I think that's a great deck to start off with. Personally, one of my favorite decks is
Hmm.
Purple Steel. Um, in my opinion, with rotation, I think if anything, the barrier to entry should get lower, or should be easier to get into the game, and things should be cheaper because if they're doing a certain amount of reprints, a lot of those cards that already exist within a marketplace, if you're buying singles and stuff like that, should go down because there's going to be an influx of newer cards, which are going to be the same cards. Um, my advice for a cheap deck to get into post rotation, I mean, if Purple Steel was cheapish that you feel like now, I'd say probably Purple Steel next set as well. I mean, it is tricky because you've still like, I think like Calhoun's and Docks and Genies are probably going to be like pretty integral, and Elsas are going to be integral to the decks, but they're not like super expensive cards. I don't think maybe Genie's the most expensive. Like Elsas are usually around like €5 or €6, I think, from last I checked, and that's
Hmm.
maybe one of the more expensive cards in your Docks and Genies. But the rest of the cards are usually kind of uncommon and common cards that are just good. Um, so I think initially as well from a lot of the decks that we've looked at from this like 5 to set initial impressions type of thing, I think a purple steel deck makes sense. I think you could do maybe a Blurple deck, but there can be some more rare and super rare cards within decks like that. Would you have any advice, Moyen? It's a difficult question as well because like we also don't know all of the cards,
Yeah,
but
but we don't we're no market gurus that know how everything will develop.
no, just because I
But
work, yeah, it doesn't mean I know I don't know everything. Yeah.
yeah, but like at first I didn't quite get the question, but I think now I'm getting it because at first I thought, okay, the old cards they shouldn't get more expensive because they're getting like the reprinted
Mhm.
cards, right? Because we get more product, more
Mhm.
supply of them, they shouldn't rise in price. Like the new cards, I guess there will be maybe a bit more demand for them, but like they shouldn't rise in price too much.
Also, how many of the new cards are going to be? I don't want to say I don't want to sound negative, but how many of the new cards are going to be playable? If it's let's be realistic, right? Let's be honest. We usually get a set of 204 cards, right? As the sets have gone on, there have been less and less amounts of playable cards. However, that being said, because rotation is going to happen, maybe that does mean that a lot of the new cards will be powerful, will be strong. But I still don't know how many of those cards will be new and strong. And to your
Yeah.
point, I also agree that those cards might just be harder to obtain in a sense as well. So if there are powerful new cards, I do think that they could be a little bit on the expensive side for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Right, especially if maybe the product is being bought a bit less, or like less packs are being opened, then
Hmm.
like the actual new cards could actually be a bit expensive. But like I think the actual point of the comment is kind of like now it's quite possible to build a cheap deck,
Hmm.
but like if some of the cheap cards don't get reprinted, and then
Ah, I
some
see.
other cards will end up being in the deck, so like maybe the cost of like the cards in the deck will still rise, even if like not no particular card rises in price too much. So I understand that, but I personally don't think it should like skyrocket or anything. I think maybe the decks will be slightly more expensive, maybe they won't, but I wouldn't. I don't think there's like too much need to worry about it.
Hmm. And our final comment is from Jackalope. They say, what cards from sets 5 to 8 do you think will be played more after rotation? Just an early forecast before knowing the reprints or any spoilers. It's a good question.
It's a great question.
Yep.
Um, I did. I tried to build like a little bit of a shell of like green, blue, and Blurple. So I
Hmm.
guess like I have like the easy answer is just saying some of the cards that are in those decks that
Hmm.
maybe didn't see too much play before. I think maybe the panic that moves damage counters could
The
see
combat
some
trick. Yeah.
some more play.
Yep.
Yeah, come on, check. Or maybe some of the like dual ink Blurple cards that like didn't quite compare favorably in quality to like the just good Sapphire and good Amethyst cards that we've had before. I mean, they could come back. I think. Oh, actually, maybe the Donald Duck is still super slow. The 5 cost,
Hmm.
3/4 quest for 2 that ramps you one. But like if there are some decks that really want to skip 6 ink, for example, um, they might rely on this card more with like if how far I go no longer exists. So I think that's a fair shout as well.
Think of
I guess with us losing card draw, anything that's like uh, drawing cards would still be great. Like Polygenie, Finders Keepers. I think Clarabelle could see even more play if there's good Emerald decks because that provides good card draw.
Yep. I think
Maybe.
the sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, maybe something like Yelana if like Crab is
I was
not
gonna
there.
say that. Exactly
Okay.
what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah.
Oh, actually, the other one is I think if Genie is great because Catch was great, then like Iago is great because Iago's great against Genie. Then like any card that's good against Genie might also be a bit more popular, like Hypnotic
Any
Strength.
card that's good against Iago, not Genie, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the Yelena is actually the perfect example in my opinion because it's the same cost as Crab. It's similar enough to Crab but different as well, like different stats. It's like not as versatile because you don't get the whole bounce stuff. Um,
Hmm.
but I think
I
it's the
think
perfect example.
I guess I'm a little bit focused on Amethyst right now because it's kind of difficult to see too many Amethyst, like at least without knowing the cards that we get in set 9, it's like kind of difficult to see non-Amethyst decks or build them. But in Amethyst you kind of have this card draw package. But what Amethyst is likely to lose is like the one drops that replace themselves.
Mhm.
Right? We've had a lot of these. I guess we still have Diablo, but we might not have Churner Box or Magic Boom anymore.
Mhm.
Um, and while these one drops were great, I think them leaving the format could mean that like the well-statted one drops actually become more playable. So like Royal Guard and Palace Guard.
Yep. I think it makes sense. Another card that comes to mind, and I do agree, it's going to be kind of a theme of even what we spoke about last week. The Amethyst seems to have the most good cards still from 5 to 8. It's still got Genies, it's still got Iagos, it's still got Elsas. And Genie
Mm-hmm.
Elsa in the Genie Wars is very strong. You play Genie, they play Genie, you play Elsa, bing bang boom. You're doing pretty good.
Boom.
Um, but I don't know, like there's some cards like the the Steel John Silver, right? The one that stops stuff from challenging. I think that's a cool card. The 3 cost 3/3 that just stops one of your opponent's cards from
Mm-hmm.
challenging. Like, interesting card again. I don't know if I'd call that a combat trick, but it has like an interesting effect that can
Mhm.
affect your opponent's board state. It's like, it was mainly played because I think it was really good against the Maui half shark, right? If you're playing a certain Sapphire Steel deck that didn't necessarily have removal for it, that card kind of stalls the shark from being able to challenge and banish something and get a card back. Um, Alice, the blue Alice is still like sets 5 to 8, right? So I think there's some cool things you can do with that card where like you set things up so that you play Alice and then like you play like a pretty powerful 4 drop and quest with Alice to really protect that 4 drop, and then you
Mhm.
can like get like some true value from it. So there are definitely some other cards around there, but yeah, I feel bad. I kind of feel bad for our answers to this question. I think the Yelena and the more spicier cards make sense, but I think the cards that will be played more is just still the good cards from sets 5 to 8 now. Like the good cards from sets 5 to 8 will very much be played. The harder part is, yeah, it's like the cards that are less commonly played that, you know, were clearly less powerful than the cards we had from sets 1 to 4, but do they fill a void now that we are potentially missing certain ones? And that's going to take some testing. It's going to take some experimentation. It's very hard to build full lists without knowing all of these reprints, because the reprints are definitely going to be relevant. Like the meta would be so different if it was, imagine all of sets 1 to 4 just completely rotated out and we didn't get any reprints. Like that is like a massive change. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, I think we shared most of our thoughts on there, and we'll get into the decks a little bit more as well. So before we get into deck lists, Moyen is on the screen and he's cosplaying Hiram Flaversham. I think we need to see this in person, Moyen. I think we need to see you at a Lorcana event. This wouldn't be a bad cosplay to do, right? Just wear like, a bow
Oh,
tie, a waistcoats. You don't
it
have to
looks
like wear mouse ears or anything like that.
yeah, it looks just like me, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It looks just like you. Yep.
Just like your card, but we'll get to that. Okay, so my card is the Incubate because Morian is strategic deck tracker. 1/3 quest for 2. And it says when you play this character, chosen opposing character gets -3 strength until the start of your next turn.
What are you doing?
So,
You didn't read out the ability name. What are you
oh.
doing?
Oh, right. I didn't even read that. Okay, and then the second part of my ability is why would you play that? And it's what it does is this character gains +1 lore and +1 strength for each card exceeding 60 in the opponent's starting deck. So
And what's your
yeah,
flavor
this
text?
uh, flavor text is job's not done, which is what I said after Ed lost.
Yeah.
But I loved Ed's quote, but it was just funny to me. Okay, yeah, very, very powerful card. If my opponent does indeed make the mistake of soft playing more than 60.
Would you play this
Um,
card if they just play 60?
would I play this card if they just play? Probably not. But like if they play 61, that's already quite good.
Yeah, that is
Um,
true. So if they make the
they just
desperate error of
make
putting the
one
one
mistake.
extra card. Yeah.
Um, wait, so
I
let me
also
find.
oh yeah, the name is in like the art of the card. So this is made by Goofy Plays Lorcana. They tagged Moyen over on Instagram. Shout out to them. I didn't know this was a thing. Moyen pointed this out to me before the podcast. I was like, oh, of course we have to share this. I also want to note, I don't believe there are many other cards in the game that are both heroes and allies. I don't think that's a thing. So
Hero, ally, villain.
yeah, you need villain in here. What do you mean? Wait, oh, I'm a villain? I think my card's a villain, right? Okay,
Let's see.
we'll move on to check out the next card, which is
Wait,
Kawa
it looks
Tech.
just like you.
Yeah. Oh, it looks just like me. Yeah. That's it's like I'm looking in a mirror right now, Moyen. Right.
Mhm.
So Kawatek, Lemon Lime Lover. It's a 4 cost inkable 3/3 quest for 2. It's a storyborn villain with ward. Opponents can't choose this character except to challenge. And the ability is value discard. When you play this character, you may discard any number of cards. If you do, your opponent discards the same amount of cards.
If you go Prince John into Cover Tech Lime Lover, the game is so over.
The game is so over. Oh my god.
And
Yeah,
the flavor text is welcome back to episode number XXX of the Podcana podcast.
yeah. Yeah, these were really funny to read. I never thought I'd see myself on a card like this. There was some funny stuff that I think I think Baker made some photoshops of me as You've Forgotten Me in the cloud, like Mufasa's head, except my head was photoshopped onto that. So these are really really funny to see. What I find actually funnier about this card is the board is actually obviously it's there to be flavorful with Prince John, but for this card, it's just like makes the card unnecessarily better, right? The ward doesn't need to be on this card at all. It's not a static effect. But maybe this is the way wards should be on cards,
Yeah,
right?
maybe
Where
it should
yeah.
be on static effects. Maybe it
Yeah.
should be on stuff that just like quests.
Yes, correct. But yeah. I mean, these are good proxies for us to play in our decks, right? I mean, mine's way better than yours if I just play a 60
If you
card
can play
deck.
with this, then we're banning Prince John.
Okay, well no, if I can play with this then I have to play like I don't know, at least 61 cards so your card is playable, right? Yeah. So that was a good laugh. If anyone wants to submit stuff like this, send it into our Discord. This gives us a good chuckle, I have to say. Okay, moving on to another segment just before we jump into deck lists. What we have on the screen in front of us is one of every legendary from sets 1 to 4. I need to double check this though because from what I'm counting, there are
Oh,
one,
let me
two,
see.
three, four, five, six, 7. Wait, not 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 8 ambers, and then there's like, isn't there like less amethyst ones here? Did we miss? Did we miss one?
Maybe I forgot a single
Okay,
amethyst one.
maybe we missed out on an amethyst one. Guys, let us know what we're missing. So what I wanted to do was take a look at every legendary card from sets 1 to 4, and speak about some of them that, maybe would have some potential if they did get reprinted. Some of the ones that, like, maybe don't deserve to get reprinted. Like my pick is please don't bring back Big Sisu. I think it would be like the whole point of rotation is to rotate out powerful cards, and if you're reprinting stuff, maybe 1 or 2 staples can still be in there. But I think if you want to reprint cards that had some potential but didn't really shine too much, like I don't know, like there's some like very mechanically unique cards within this pool right here. Like like the Sapphire Grammatala. Did you ever mess around with that card, Moyen?
Which one was that again?
It's like the 7 cost inkable 4/8 that quests for 2. That I think it's
Yeah.
whenever you ink something, you get a lore, right?
Yeah, it might have been like there was something like there was like the Grand Pebby when you heal deck in the early
Yep.
stages of Lorcana, and then there
Yep.
was the Tala when you ink
Mm-hmm.
gain lore. I messed around with it a little bit, but not too much because it was not very powerful. The card that I must have not clicked is the one that's it's Ursula Sea Witch Queen actually.
Ah, right. That would make sense. Yes.
So then,
That's
then now it's
that's a
not.
very actually. What's funny is out of all the Amethyst legendaries, that was a played legendary as well
Yeah,
in
that
a
was
couple of decks.
one of the better ones or best ones even.
Yep. And an
Was
interesting.
even like a set jumps card.
Yep. An interesting thing about some of these legendaries as well is that they are so synergistic. Like I feel like if Jafar is brought back and like a whole new world isn't there, then it's just a bit weird. Like the Amethyst Jafar legendary, how much can you really achieve with that? Um, but I know there's one card that you really like, Moyen, right? You spoke about it as one of your cards you'd like to see. It's the Hydra, right?
Yeah, this Hydra I think can make for interesting board states with, and it can help you be very proactive and like force some weird decisions on when to exert your characters or not. And I just when it came out, I thought what was going to be better than it was. So like I just want to see it played a bit more.
Sure.
What legendaries out of these would you maybe want to see reprinted?
I think a legendary card that's like always been solid but never been like too powerful. I think is the John Silver and Emerald is like a fine legendary card. Like I'd kind of like to see that be reprinted. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's fine. I think the Beast within Emerald from set 2 as well had some like crazy combo potential, so it would be cool, but I also think cards like that maybe make sense within the Infinity format because the card pool just keeps growing. Eventually, there could be some absolutely nutty combo deck for for the Beast where you just like win and your opponent can't do anything to stop you. Um,
Yeah.
but overall, I mean, I spoke about it already. Like the Perdita, I've always liked the Perdita with an Amber. I think that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
a cool card. Um, but
Yeah, for me it's like
yeah,
the cards that were like almost playable, but like not quite. Because there's some of these legendaries where like even if they got reprinted, they would still not see a lot
I
of play,
agree.
right?
I agree.
So I also don't want the legendary reprint slots to be wasted on those. but I think like Perdita is a great shout. Um, I think John Silver you mentioned is a great
Mhm.
shot. I would love to see the Hydra. I
Yep.
think the Mulan Archer was actually kind of a cool card that barely like saw a little bit of play, but not a lot. Um,
The Queen maybe
and
within Sapphire, like that's a cool item focused legendary, right? Like
yes,
that saw a
yeah, but
little bit of play, right?
yeah, I mean, while I didn't see like the most play, I think I didn't love the gameplay pattern of
Mm.
oh play this, exert it, and like the variance was quite big on what you hit, do you not hit, even
Mhm.
bigger than maybe the variance in aerial because um you also needed to exert it, and then if it then also still doesn't do anything, it's just too bad.
Mhm.
Um, I think the piglet is actually kind of a house, the
Mhm.
3/5 with
Mhm.
resist quest for 3. Um, like it wasn't quite good enough yet, but I mean that I think that's kind of a cool card anyways.
The most
So yeah,
important though,
they
Moyen,
have some options.
if they don't bring back our boy Gantu, the best card ever printed in Lorcana, right? It's just a big
Yeah, maybe don't waste the slot on Gantu.
yeah.
You were, I remember at the start of Lorcana, you were so mad that this card existed.
Yep. Do you know
Was
why
was
as
just
well? Because it was the one legendary I didn't have, and like, I don't know, because it was my first physical TCG. Set one was the one set I was actually very focused on personally, just trying to get like a play set of everything. And I was like, oh, this Gantu card's like really evading me, and I don't think I'd really played the game enough to actually understand its power level. And I think I didn't overpay for it or pay anything crazy. And then I was just like,
yeah,
man, I can't believe I was actually hunting for this card. Like, I actually wanted
something
Gantus.
forgotten.
Yeah, honestly, man. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool memories with some of these cards, notably the ones that are played a lot. But there's also ones that I think I'm kind of more sad for, like you said, like there's some legendaries here that didn't have potential when they were printed, and even if they got reprinted, they probably still wouldn't have potential, which is a bit
Yeah.
sad to think about that they never really got to see the light of
Look,
day.
what's also fun looking at these is kind of like the cards, where the community was like so wrong.
Go on. Oh
Um,
yeah, the Bell Archer.
yeah,
Oh,
there's like the two ones in the middle are like Bell and Jafar. Like,
yeah.
okay, Jafar, it sometimes had like somewhat of a niche deck,
Mhm.
but like people were like, oh no, how could they ever print this? The game's gone,
Yeah.
head's gone, everything's gone.
And
With the Bell, a little bit similar. It's like, oh no, you lose your entire hand, but it never really turned out that way. Or maybe the other way around. I think Lucky Time, it took quite some time for people to
yeah,
realize like how good it is because it seems so slow on the surface level, but it was just fast enough in the right matchups.
I think that was the one card that when I did um I did like the Hearthstone player judges Lorcana cards with Regis, and
Yeah.
like Lucky Dime's the
Yep.
perfect card to present to people because like even everybody in the community was like, this card's so expensive, it's so
Yeah.
unplayable, right? And you expect people to judge it like that, but turns out it was
It's a,
actually pretty good.
for someone that doesn't play Lorcana, it's kind of impossible to realize this card's good, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's all of the legendaries there. Let us know down below what legendaries you guys would like to see return. And yeah, I think it makes sense that you forgot a card now because I was like, why is there just one spot empty in the bottom right? But yeah, it was that Ursula Sea Witch Queen. Okay, let's jump into the deck lists. So, Moin,
Yep.
this is your green blue. I know you messed around with green blue a little bit last week. So
hmm
what are the cards that we lost within green blue here?
Well, the cards that we lost are very massive to how this deck functioned,
Sure.
which I realized when I built this deck. But still, I had to build this because last week we looked at some lists and they were all Amethyst piles, and I was like, okay, but Cloverbell exists. You should be able to build a code Cloverbell, which I tried to do a little bit here. Um, but the problem is like this kind of bounce into bend or bounce Cloverbell uh, mechanic is much harder to do when a lot of the bounce stuff's gone. So like
Mm-hmm.
Muses is gone, which is one of the biggest ones. Mother Knows Best is gone, which is also huge. Um, I guess okay, Popsicle and Bell are gone, so but they wouldn't be as important anyways without
Well, Bell is still in
Muses
the
and
game, but
bounce.
yeah, Popsicle's gone is the
Right.
big thing, right? Yeah.
It's like if Popsicle's gone, then Bell gets a lot worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so does Tamatoa, right?
Mm-hmm.
The six drop, which you could also play in this. But the other one is Tala and Torfalgo, are also from set 1 to 4. And So like we still have Sail and Tipo, but this deck specifically has a very tough time to actually what do they actually do after ramping on
Mm-hmm.
two? Like I looked through the four ink plays and I was not very impressed. So the Scrooge made it in this deck, and it doesn't really fit what the deck wants to do, but it's just like a well-stated character, so it's still good at challenging. It can still help you close out the game later, but like you just have to kind of hope your opponent's slow enough and then just go ramp ramp into a 7, and then you can still have similar late game potential, but I think getting there quite difficult. So we play all of the extra Clarabels to shift upon. We have a lot of Iago answers. We might even want more than the 3 Heffalumps. Um, and also now the stopped chaos in its tracks, which I think is also already okay. The set made it into the list now just based on a lot of stuff being gone. So we we have to lower the threshold of how good a card needs to be to make the deck. And the other thing is that made it into the deck now is the Mother Gothel to kind of like substitute for the bounce, which it might not be able to do, but I guess if I had to build green blue with just set 5 to 8, it would look something like this.
Sure. I'm curious in your thoughts on the dual ink universal shift Baymax, right?
Mm-hmm.
The emerald sapphire
Right.
one that's inkable. It's universal shift 4, it costs 6. It's also a 5/5 that quest for 2. Do you think that could maybe go into the Scrooge slot? Granted, like
Yeah.
you can't just sail into it, right? Like you have to have a body. But if as
Right.
long as
But
you
you
have the
could,
Clarabelle or something, like it could
yeah.
be okay.
Right. You could say Clarabelle into that. No, that probably should be in this deck, right? I didn't test this, but now that you talk about it, it's inkable as well, right? The
Yep,
Baymax.
it's inkable.
Yeah, and I guess there's multiple follow-ups. It's like Tipo into Baymax or say Clarabelle into Baymax, which could help you contest the board earlier.
Hmm.
You can't really use it super well. I guess it could still help you sing Chaos a little bit
I
earlier.
think so. Yeah.
I think yeah, I think it would probably fit this deck very well. At least now that all of the other stuff's gone.
I just like to see the 3 class Clarabelle in this deck as well, though, because it's just a nice kind of catch up card. Um, we don't see enough of these types of cards. I think the other one is like the Hey Hey, right? If your opponent has more ink than you, then you get to ramp with an Emerald, which was a very unique thing. That Emerald doesn't really mess around with like gaining more ink. Um, so
Yeah.
I like those
But
cards a little bit.
yeah, I do too, but I think Clarabelle doesn't quite fit the bill because it's not really better going second, right? Because uh, you want to have less cards in hand than your opponent, and that's much easier to do if you're going first
Mm-hmm. Yep.
than when you're going second. So it's
Sure.
like
Sure.
I,
That's true.
what I like about Hay is that it's like it helps break up play to water disparity a little bit, which the Clever Belt doesn't do.
Sure.
But
Sure. Sure. Sure.
other than that, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, next deck.
Next deck, it's Blurple, right?
Yeah, and when we looked through the Amethyst piles yesterday, not yesterday, last week,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think Blurple stood out to me just because it has the ramp and the card draw, which okay, it always had, but I think now it might also actually have the time to play out its game plan a lot more. I think Royal Guard will be amazing with all of the card draw post rotation. You have the evasive was. So it is quite similar to maybe the Blurple list we looked at last week, but I still try to maybe build it the way that I would go about it. I think the panic could find its way in. I cut some of the Anna Elsa cards that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't think would quite make it. We
Was it?
also have the
Mm-hmm.
Donald in this, which might be a bit slow, but um, if you do have the time for it, like this has this like mid-rangey threats, and it will never run out of threats, and it will deploy if you give them the time, also get the ink to deploy them rather quickly. Um, but yeah, I guess this is also kind of like the easiest deck to build from set 5 to 8 because it still has the most cards from like a previous deck.
Yeah, I think honestly, and I do hope this is the case. I think like set 5 to 9 could be Blurple's like real time to shine. I could see this being like a very good deck, honestly, within the meta because uh I think the difficult thing is to try and figure out a deck now that can kind of ramp into like super really big powerful plays, and this is one that I feel like can kind of do that, at least with the Elsas and the Monstros, and there's also like really good um mid game as well while you're ramping and doing everything else, the combat tricks with the panic and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really
Also,
like this.
what I also like quite about this quite a bit is it's really not that slow. It can also contest the board with like one drop.
Hmm.
It plays this four drop really early. But what I like the most about this is that this seems like, or at least this current set 5 to 8 version seems to be the deck that actually utilizes support the best, because we have like the Palace Guard and the Tipo, and then we have quite a bit of decent support cards with the 4 drop and the 6 drop Dual Link Annas.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I know support hasn't been the best keyword, or like it hasn't really been utilized so much within the meta, but when it's used right, I think it can be cool. And there's one more deck you want to talk about, right? It's like a Ruby Amethyst list, I believe.
Yep. So this was submitted on our Discord, Spilled Ink, and I, it's not the entire deck that I want to focus on, but it's like this main idea around this Lyle Tiberius Walk, which I just found super fun. Um, and so Lyle Tiberius Walk is this 8 cost inkable 6/4 quest for 3 that says once during your turn when you ink a card, deal 2 damage to all characters. And I was when like this card got revealed, I was always so sad that it's like if it had one restriction less, I was afraid like it would still not be great. But it
Mm-hmm.
had all of these restrictions. Like it deals, it costs 8, then you need to play it, and then you need to ink after playing it,
Mm-hmm.
and then still it's damage to your characters. And then even if you were playing like Ruby Sapphire, if you ink twice, you couldn't. You can still only activate the effect once.
Deals damage with
Um,
self as well, right?
yes. So if
Yep.
you ink twice, it would get banished anyways. But
Yep.
no, you're not even allowed to do that. So, but I still always like found this card kind of funny. Um, And now that we got everybody's got a weakness, that's like a great synergy piece. If you have maybe if you get to that point, you set up like a mid-range board, your opponent has a board, somewhat of a stalemate because you're playing the shark, and then um, you ink with a walk on the board, play everybody's got a weakness, get to move like okay, all of your stuff has 2 damage, but you can move one of those 2 damages to an opponent. You get to draw quite some cards. Um, I just found this was like a neat build to and this with this combination of Lyle and everybody's got a weakness. Um, I didn't analyze like the rest of the deck too much, but I think in general red purple should still have a fine time just with like the good purple cards, maybe some Ruby 2 drops, and then you have like the new dual ink Hades that I think will also see a lot more, or have the potential to see a lot more play than they saw recently.
Honestly, the rest of the cards in combination with this deck, they all look solid. I was looking at
Mm-hmm.
these cards, I was like, yeah, this looks like at least half of Baker's list that he played against me at the set champs, right? He played the Queen of Hearts, he played the Vanellope von Schweetz, like he played this evasive, he played the
Mm-hmm.
Medusa, he played the Genius, played the Elsas, played the Hades. Like one card I could see in here, honestly, like maybe the big Hades is enough, but if you want to play less of the big Hades and just want some more card draw, you could just play a couple of Finders Keepers as well. I don't think that would be the worst. Also, still combos nicely with the Royal Guard. Um, so I honestly don't think this deck is too far off from being what some people might play as like a somewhat standard Ruby
Yeah,
Amethyst deck. The
like
the
we don't know whether the Lyle everybody's got a weakness will make it in, right?
Sure,
But
but the rest of the stuff looks very very
definitely.
core to what I think people
Yeah,
would
definitely.
play. The trickier thing now is like how much is like it's gonna be a big question in my opinion is this Maui half shark, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if cards like Zeus are getting rotated out, if I guess also we could mention if World's Greatest Criminal Mind gets rotated out because that is another particular answer to the Maui. How many
Mm-hmm.
clean answers are there going to be to this card? But then also, how many really good actions are there going to be? Like, in this deck in particular, right? Like, sure, getting back on everybody's got a weakness, it could be okay. Getting back
Mm-hmm.
like getting back a hypnotic strength is actually not the worst because it seems like a fine card. You get some card draw. You get to trade up with some of your smaller characters. But I did see. I think there was a Ruby Amethyst we saw last week that was playing like Thievery, which is the one cost inkable
Mm-hmm.
action that like you go up a lore and your opponent goes down a lore. Like yeah, that seems like it could be okay with
Yeah.
Maui Half Shark.
What,
Honestly.
I think now that you mention it, I'm very worried about Half Shark
Mm.
because um it's really only held back by like efficient answers to it.
Mhm.
And if we end up in a place where there is very little of those, I could see Maui being oppressive, even if there isn't good action, right? I think it's still quite powerful, even if it's just like sitting there
Mm-hmm.
as a 6 cost 7/5 evasive, and
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you play or as you exert a character, they
They get
value
value.
trade it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then just like maybe they just have any inkable action in their discard. They
Mm-hmm.
take that inket.
Mm-hmm.
It's like still +1 and on like a very, very good buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Um so yeah, I'm scared of this card staying in the format now that I'm reminded of it.
Yeah. I mean, I know there were. I think there were some cards from set 4. I want to say they could be set 5, but from set 4 that were like amber cards that like on a body like the Minnie Mouse. I think it had basically the world's greatest criminal mind effect on it.
Yes,
Um.
but it was uninkable, I think.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess
That's
you
what
can
I'm.
still Elsa it and trade into it, maybe.
Yeah, but if you play Elsa, like there's so much other stuff you're gonna have to do with it, right? Like I do.
Yeah.
Oh, can you check a card for me that I think could very much be included within these Ruby Amethyst decks now, which is it's the Moana that did see some play. I think it's an evasive Moana, 4 cost inkable 4/3.
Right.
Is that's
Yes.
from like set 6, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Set 7 even.
Set 7. Okay, yeah.
So 4/3 evasive inkable quest for 1 that says when this character challenges another character, another chosen character of yours gets +3.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I guess that could help quite a bit. Maybe even if it can be played around, but imagine they have like a shark and an exerted character.
Mhm.
Could play like Elsa, exert the shark, and then Moana challenges something, gives you Elsa +3. You take out the shark.
Seems pretty good.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there'll probably still be ways. I'm just saying, like, I'm slightly worried
I
about
agree.
this guy.
Yeah, but I actually think that's kind of a card that maybe some people are potentially sleeping on from speaking about 5 to 8 as a whole, because that card did see some play within the
Hmm.
and like I mean, notably, it's a lot better if you can go Peter Pan on 3 and then follow up with a Moana to then also like buff your I don't know your Diablo or any of your cantrip 1 drops,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a pretty powerful play. Um,
Yeah.
but in the
I
Genie
think both
Wars
of
and
the
stuff, I
Peter
think it's
Pans
also in the
are
Genie
on.
Wars and stuff. I think it makes sense to have this card. It seems all right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like what's this 4/3 is probably the most efficient stat line if you want to contest a 2/4.
Yep.
So
Yep.
makes sense.
Agreed. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this week's episode of the podcast. I really enjoyed the discussions that we had this week. Again, like it's it's still a whiles away until we actually get to set 9, but I'm excited to speak about all of this type of stuff. And we're coming into the lead up to Gen Con, where a lot of the like Ravensburger have said that a lot of these announcements are going to start to come out about future news, maybe start to actually reveal some cards, which are most likely going to be reprints, I imagine. Maybe some new cards as well. And yeah, I think this has actually been a very nice time to get our initial thoughts. And what would be very fun is just doing the whole returning to this afterwards to see like how right we were, how wrong we were. Maybe that's something
Hmm.
I should try and do is go through all of the different segments we had of when we evaluated cards from previous sets and
Yeah.
clip out the sections of cards we
Oh
said,
no.
oh my god, this is so good, or a card we said, yeah, no, this isn't playable, and it was actually playable. That's some of my favorite content to watch for like I still watch like Hearthstone content like that because like back in the sets where I played Hearthstone, like Whispers of the Old Gods and Ungoro and stuff, like some people had some wild takes, and it's like so funny
Yeah.
to be like, yeah, no, this was the most played card ever, and like this content creator said it was trash. It's very funny to
Trump
watch.
from Value Town
Yep.
had the widest takes usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there's also this there's like a Twitter account that's I think History of Lorcana or something
Yep.
that like retweets something that happened like exactly an hour ago or posts about something not an hour
A
a year
year
ago.
ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and it's like recently there was I mean it must have been a few weeks ago. I think it was a year after we um we had Mufasa as our card reveal.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone commented, which I found quite nice. It's like they re-listened to it and said, okay, we were actually quite right about like the potential of Mufasa, but also um
It needs to live,
all of the
right? Yeah.
downsides
Yeah.
of,
Yeah. Yeah.
of it.
I still think that was our coolest card that we got to reveal, though. It
Yeah,
had the most
that was a
potential,
great card
right?
to reveal.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I guess, yeah. I don't know what card reveals we'll have for this set. Could be a new card. It could be an old card even. That'd be kind of interesting, I
What?
guess.
Card reveal for a reprint
Maybe. Who
reprint
knows,
reveal,
right?
maybe.
Like,
Sure.
if anything, I think we could still give some interesting context on that because we could be like, okay, in the context of this new meta,
Yeah.
has this card gotten better or has this card gotten worse? Who knows,
Sure.
right?
We could still talk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it could be interesting. But yeah, that's it for this week's episode of the podcast. If you guys enjoyed it, the number one thing you can do is leave us a review over on Apple Podcast, Spotify, your local podcast platform. There is a video version of this available over on youtube.com/Podcana podcast. Hit the subscribe while you're there. Twitters are at Moyen_HS and at Kawatech_CG. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next one.